still work. And we are happy to welcome Lucy, who is joining us from Harvard. Lucy, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Maria, and thank you for the invitation. It's truly an honor to be here today, to be presenting with such a distinguished panel of experts. I'm happy also to see John, who's one of my Curie colleagues, and to see Maria, who we did Fulbright at the same time. And also, I'm especially happy to see Volodymyr Dubovic, because he was one of my mentors, one of my hosts at Odesa Mechnikov National University during my Fulbright. So it's really an honor to be presenting alongside him and these other panelists. Everyone has had such fascinating presentations, and I appreciate it. So the title of my presentation is Overlooked Aggression, Former President Trump's 2019 Coercion of Ukraine and the Budapest Memorandum. It's based on a paper that I published in Odesa Mechnikov National University's journal, International and Political Studies, in July 2020. And today I'm going to share the findings of my paper and discuss why this continues to be relevant today. To provide some background, in 2019, former President Trump was impeached for his ongoing conduct toward the government of Ukraine. The U.S. House of Representatives wrote in the articles of impeachment that his scheme is how they put it, consisted of pressuring the government of Ukraine to publicly announce investigations that would benefit his campaign in the 2020 U.S. presidential election. At the time, much had been written about the domestic implications of his actions, but few had raised questions about the potential violation of standing international agreements, especially those between the U.S. and Ukraine. The aim of this research was to evaluate whether Trump's conduct, for which he was impeached, violated the 1994 Budapest Memorandum. In the years since Ukraine gained its independence, it has interacted with 6 U.S. presidents, each of whom approached supporting its security and sovereignty differently. However, Trump's actions in this instance were unprecedented. So on the morning of July 25th, 2019, Trump placed a call to the newly elected President Zelensky. Trump congratulated Zelensky once more on his victory, and the two exchanged pleasantries. However, Trump then turned his attention to, quote, his own personal interests, as the whistleblower complaint described it. "I would like you to do us a favor, though," Trump said, "because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a whole lot about it." The goal of Trump's conduct was to pursue an investigation, or at least the public announcement of an investigation, into Joe Biden in order to give himself an advantage in the 2020 presidential election. To this end, he sought to, quote, pressure the government of Ukraine by conditioning $391 million of vital U.S. military assistance, which had already been approved by Congress, on Ukraine's willingness to cooperate with his efforts. Additionally, Trump asked that Zelensky locate and return servers used by the Democratic National Committee and by wealthy Ukrainian actors to allegedly stack the 2016 election against Trump. This alternative narrative, one in which Trump was the target of a DNC Ukraine conspiracy rather than the benefactor of Russian election meddling, was initially presented by the Kremlin. Upon closer inspection, none of these claims have proven accurate, but they were widely reported in American conservative media. Trump and his associates decided to pursue these DNC servers outside of official channels. Trump's ongoing conduct toward Ukraine was brought to light by the publication of a whistleblower complaint by an anonymous individual who was presumably working in the high ranks of the White House. The author's name was withheld from the public and from Trump for their own personal protection, but Congress and other government officials were aware of the individual's identity. The publication of a whistleblower complaint is entirely legal. An official may choose to do this if and when they have observed a serious or flagrant abuse, violation of law or executive order, consistent with the definition of an urgent concern in accordance with certain U.S. laws. This is not the same thing as leaking classified information on the internet, how we normally think of whistleblowers. This is a legal process that happens in the U.S. government. Now that they had been made aware of this investigation, because of the whistleblower report, Congress understood the gravity of Trump's conduct and began its investigation. In response to this public revelation, Trump ultimately released the military and security assistance to the government of Ukraine, but persisted in openly and corruptly urging and soliciting Ukraine to undertake investigations for his personal political benefit, as stated in the articles of impeachment. Trump then ordered his employees, the White House staff, and executive branch agencies not to cooperate with the investigation. This was an unprecedented act, pitting two branches of government against each other, which are supposed to cooperate and serve the people of the United States. Impeachment is the only way that a U.S. president can be charged with a crime in the United States. Only 3 U.S. presidents have ever been impeached: Andrew Johnson in 1868, Bill Clinton in 1998, and Donald Trump in 2019 and again in 2021. After hours of extensive debate and discussion, Trump was impeached on December 18th, 2019, for the high crimes and misdemeanors of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Impeachment serves as a confirmation of Trump's wrongdoing in his conduct toward Ukraine and toward the U.S. In the eyes of the House of Representatives, Trump pressured a foreign government, abused the power of the presidency, and did so for personal political gain. So let's talk about the Budapest Memorandum. I'm 100% confident I don't need to explain what the Budapest Memorandum is to a room of Ukrainian and American experts on the subject, but I'll reference a few relevant sections. So Section 3 of the Budapest Memorandum is the most applicable to the conduct of Trump and his associates in 2019 because it focuses on non-military threats to Ukrainian sovereignty and security. An important extension of Section 3 of the Budapest Memorandum is that, as directly cited in the document, it acts on in accordance with the principles of the CSCE Final Act. I conclude that Trump's conduct toward the government of Ukraine violated the Budapest Memorandum based on an analysis of the relevant sections of these documents. To cite specific terms in each of these policies, Trump and his associates used an act of military or of political, economic, or other coercion to subordinate or influence the internal affairs, political, social, economic, or cultural systems, or laws and regulations of Ukraine in order to serve his own interests or to secure advantages of any kind. Even though this instance of Trump's conduct was unique in that it directly violated an international agreement, detrimental foreign policy and the degradation of international norms were nothing new for the Trump administration. Looking toward the future, there is a legitimate possibility that Trump will be reelected in 2024, and the political ramifications of this could be enormous. Referring to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Trump has made claims that he will, quote, end the war in 24 hours if he is elected president. He stated that he would do this by attempting to bluff both Zelensky and Putin in order to force them to make a deal, regardless of what that deal might look like. His strategy would essentially hold the Ukrainian people hostage in an effort to, quote, end the war as quickly as possible, most likely to frame it as a win to domestic audiences. So what would this deal look like, assuming he made one? In the past few months, numerous U.S. politicians have suggested that Ukraine should accept a ceasefire agreement that involves ceding some of its territory to Russia. Some of them are among a group of Trump-supporting Republican congressional representatives who seem determined to block the passage of U.S. aid to Ukraine at any cost. For this reason, we can assume that this is the type of deal that Trump would be happy to push for. However, as I wrote in an opinion piece for the Cipher Brief that just came out yesterday, a negotiated settlement with Russia would not be the quick fix that some Western experts and policymakers are suggesting it would be. Instead, if Ukraine cedes some of its territory to Russia, it will provide the Kremlin with exactly what it wants: a way to control the direction of Ukrainian politics, violate any ceasefire agreements with impunity, and once again prove that the West will allow Russia to continue its reign of terror over its near abroad as soon as it becomes inconvenient to continue supporting its strategic partners. In other words, the West will once again support Ukraine for as long as it can, but not as long as it takes to achieve victory. It is crucial to remember and to remind policymakers that providing aid to Ukraine is essential to the security of the entire free world, and that includes the U.S. If Trump were to win and continue this type of conduct, more than just Ukraine would be at stake. In 2019, former President Trump violated the Budapest Memorandum, and it is crucial that the American people and policymakers prevent him from doing it again. Thank you.
Thank you.